Welcome to O Brothers RC. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make your K-10 look like this and perform like this.
Oh yeah.
I'm super excited because I finally got my hands on some hex wheel extenders that will fit this FMS K-10. These ones are for the TRX-4M, but they will fit this FMS K-10. All the SCX-24 ones have a smaller hole and a smaller nut, and they do not fit the FMS vehicles. But now, finally, these ones do. Super sweet. Also, I picked up these oil shocks that they're now making. Check these out. These are oil shocks. They fit the K-10 here, and they were only 16 bucks. What? 16 bucks for oil shocks? I'm gonna have my buddies here help me install these. So I got Jack to lift the truck here so we can get this wheel off. Now I can pull the wheel nut and get the hub off. And we can pull this shock out. Now these were supposed to be red, but they look to be a bit of a fuchsia purple color. I don't know what's wrong with these manufacturers lately. I keep buying red stuff and it keeps coming in this weird fuchsia color. Anyhow, it's got a little rubber O-ring in there, but no oil inside. I'm gonna put some oil inside and get it installed. I was having trouble getting the screw in here, so I just grab a 5/64 drill bit, which seems to be the perfect size. Run it through there a little bit to get rid of some of the burrs on the inside of this ball joint. Now the screw slides right through. It's nice to have these brutes around to hold the truck and move it around for me. So I was worried about that ball joint fitting in the 4-link arm here, and it fit in there really nice. It's loose, but it's not, gonna fall out, so it's perfect fit. Excellent. Got about 2 drops of oil in there. Get the cap back on. These are rebounding pretty quick, but the spring's pretty heavy on them, so I guess I'm just gonna have to live with it. Let's see how they function out on the trail. Now I already lifted this truck and I moved the mount from up here to down here by just drilling a hole through the frame, adding a spacer, which is a wheel nut here, to push this old original shock out so that it wouldn't bind up on the chassis rail. Okay, that new shock is installed. Now for the moment of truth, let's see if these brass hex extenders can fit on this K-10 and make it look super badass. Here's the original hex for the K-10, and it's, you can see, about half the size of this new one. So right off the bat, running into a little bit of trouble on this hub. I'm having to take a pair of pliers and kind of smash it down in there. It fit, but it's overly tight. Number 2 problem is that the hub hole is not big enough for this new sleeve nut. So it looks like I'm gonna need about an 1/8 inch drill bit, and I'm gonna run it through there to get that sleeve to fit. Man, I'm super bummed right now. I hate when companies do this. I'm gonna go ahead and call Endure out on this one. These hex hubs, they've been grooved down in here so far where your axle pin goes that when you install them, they slide down and hit the bearing on your steering block. So that when you tighten your nut down, it locks everything together and they will no longer freely spin. But yeah, these aren't gonna work. I know what you're thinking. They were made for the TRX-4M, but it does the same thing on the TRX-4M. It slides down so far over the pin, you can see there, that it hits the steering block bushing, and when you put the nut on, bam, it locks it down and it won't spin. Also, when the pin goes that far down in there, you're losing a bunch of the offset that this thing is supposed to provide. So this is really a weak part and a fail, and I'm calling them out on this one. This is garbage and they're going back. Now I've got some 10mm ones on the way, and what I'm gonna do is when I get the 10mm one, I can grind down on this side and take a millimeter or 2 off to where the pin will sit, just down inside a little bit, and then it won't hit the bushing or the bearing. These ones, however, if I grind that much off, you know, I'm back down to basically one of these, and you know, what's the point? Okay, so just when I thought all hope was lost, these 10mm negative offset hex extenders showed up. Pretty sure that even if I have to grind this lip down here, that I can get these to work. I really want to see this truck jacked up and widened out so it just looks super freaking cool, like I know it can. But these hex extenders have the same problem. This divot in the back here where your axle pin goes in is too deep, which loses a couple millimeters of negative offset and really makes these about a 7mm offset when they're supposed to be a 10. But anyways, I'm going to take it down far enough to where when I put it on here, it doesn't hit the bushing and bind up when the wheel nut's on here nice and tight. Now, I don't like having to do this, but I've got a Dremel and it's actually pretty quick to just file the top of this down. So let's get to it. If you don't have a Dremel or a little grinder of some type, you can use a piece of sandpaper. It will work just as good, but it will take you a little bit longer. All right, now I've filed the top down just a little bit. It was pretty dang quick, about 30 seconds. This divot is much more shallow. So when I put it on the truck, I've got some clearance here. Okay, I'm fully tightened down and it's moving. It's not locked down, so it's gonna spin freely. Pretty stoked on that. So there's the stock offset. It's pretty much flush with the fender. There's the new offset, probably 3-4 millimeters coming out past the fender. That's freaking awesome. Definitely looks cooler and will add some stability to the truck. Man, I'm stoked these things showed up because I was about to scrap this whole upgrade. I'm gonna let Jack and Hugh, middle initial G, last name Rection, go back to work on the Wraith over there while I finish up the K-10. So you can see after you shave these down enough to get that slot to be shallow enough to accept the pin without rubbing against your bushing, you're losing a millimeter or two right off the get. So same thing on the back, we're looking at about flush with the fender with the offset, 3 maybe 4 millimeters out. Okay, now that we got this thing widened out and looking good, let's take it out to the course and see how it does. I guess this is good a time as any to see if the ESC is waterproof. So the slow crawl is not bad. The ESC is a little whiny, but I can deal with that. It's a pretty gnarly little section here where the water has eroded everything pretty badly. This thing is doing really well. This thing is crawling up stuff that my TRX 4M has a hard time with. The longer body style is definitely helping. And the slow crawl, man, it's doing really well. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Dang. It's a super tough line right here. I don't expect this truck to be able to make this. Oh, holy smokes. It's not as smooth as the TRX 4M, but it also has a lot better wheel speed. So You know, if it was dry, it could probably make this section. The tires, oh, look at that. Wow. After those last two sections, man, I am super impressed, actually. It's crawling a lot better than I thought it would. This thing had a little bigger tires on it, it would be doing even better. And of course, everything's soaking wet, so if we can get some dry rocks, it'd be looking really good. This is a gnarly section here. See if she can pull it off. Oh yeah, wow. It took a couple tries, but it was able to pull off those really hard sections. This thing's 100 times more capable than it was when it came out of the box. I'm really happy with what I've accomplished here. I think with a little more work, this thing's going to be a true crawler. So with all that being said, there's just a couple things that I would like to do to this truck that will definitely improve the capability even more. So I think we've gotten a real good demonstration of what this truck can do. This video is already running long, so I'm going to run it a lot more in the next video after we do the additional upgrades. Right now, let's take it back to the shop and talk about those upgrades that I'll be doing in the next video. So as far as I'm concerned, this thing is functioning really well. For the weight of the vehicle on the small motor, it slow crawls pretty well. The shocks are functioning well. It articulates way better than stock. The stance is pretty sweet. It looks like a true beef supreme. There are a couple things that could be better though. One is this steering linkage. It allows for a lot of bump steer, and also there's not a lot of strength in the steering here because of how much lift I've got and the angle of this linkage here. Two is the tires. I like these tires, but they're pretty stiff. They're not great, especially in the water. I know they did pretty well out there, but if they were a little bigger and a little softer, they would have done even better. Three, we need to take care of this wire mess and get the lights all working again. I'm gonna hardwire all the lights to where they all work at the same time. None of this funny stock lighting that these FMS have, where the headlights only work if you're pulling the throttle, the tail lights only work when you're in reverse. I mean, there's a lot of stupid stuff that they do. Your blinkers come on when you turn the wheel. I mean, it's nobody uses their blinkers when they're crawling, bro. And then the last thing I think I'm gonna do is give it a paint job. I actually really like this paint job, but I like my crawlers to look a little meaner, so it could use a paint job. I'm still undecided on that. You'll have to come back and check out the next video to see if I do paint it. It also doesn't have any weight in the wheels yet, so I'm going to use my copper wrap trick and put a lot of weight inside the wheels. That's going to really help it climb. So if you like what you see, I'm going to leave links to the tires and wheels, the shocks, and the hex extenders that I put on here, and you can pick yourself up some. So if you like this video and you want to see more upgrades done to this truck, subscribe and tap the bell and you'll get notified when I post another video. And remember, when you think custom RC, think O Brothers RC. Thanks for watching.